This is probably going to suck. Just giving you a fair warning. It's Saturday. Normally I do these on like Fridays. But welcome to another tone tutorial. This time we got Bark at the Moon. Jake E. Lee, Ozzy Osbourne. And if you haven't been able to tell by now, I'm not a very good guitar player. And this one was quite the challenge to just try to get that riff down. And that's about all the song I got down is just that opening riff. Because one, I'm sloppy as all hell, and two, it's hard for me to get that stretch that Jake E. Lee and people like Warren D. Martini like to do. But I try my best. But I think I got this dialed in pretty good. On the system setting up here, we'll look at this. I have it just set line out airfield is just set on record. If I set it here, it's going to sound better, but it's not going to sound nearly as what it's going to sound like coming out of the speaker. And unplugged from the computer and coming out of the speaker, you're going to have to do some EQ adjusting just to give it a little more bottom end if you want that album feel, not the mix feel. Because if you play it within the mix, it's probably going to sound fine with the bass, background, and drums. But just like it is here, it's probably going to sound a little thin. So let's get to it. As you can see, I already showed you the system. Let's go right up to the amp, panel, and chain. We're going to start right out on chain 3. That's fine, but we're going to bump this up to brown sound. And I'm using the brown because it has that 80s distorted sound. But I don't have the gain set too high. I've got it set to about 17. And I've got the volume up to 84, which you might have to adjust on yours depending on how high you put your master volume on your amplifier. So let me get some volume here. And we got nothing. Barely anything right now. So what we're going to do, we're going to add some bass to it. Put about 65 and a bunch of mid on it. I got the mid up to 92 on this damn thing. And treble up to 82. And vintage and presence is set at about 72. You could probably dial that back a little. Might be a little too much. No global EQ or contour on here. Noise suppressor. Let's turn the noise suppressor on. We don't have to have it turned up too high. We can turn that release down. That threshold doesn't need to be up too high. But coming on back to the booster. We are going to use a tube screamer. And we are going to use it as a booster. We got to turn that tone down to about -13 because it's just too high. And bump up that bottom, about 21-ish, I think I got it at. And the effects level, about 50. And we're not messing with this. So let's see what we're feeling like now. Yeah, that's about as far as I'm going to go with that right now. It's still hit and miss for me. I mean, I find it best first thing in the morning when I'm not thinking about it so hard. I can play that riff fine. Not fine. I can play it adequately. Let's go over to the mod. Okay, I have a light compressor going on here, as I usually do, but I got the tone. You can leave it right at 0. You can leave it pretty much all the way across the board. I bump up the sustain just a little bit, and I use the light compressor just because it kind of levels out the volumes on things, and then you can give it a little boost with the level on there. But we're not even close to being finished. Well, actually we are. We only got a reverb and a parametric EQ to put on, and that's it. So let's jump right up. I do have delay on another patch that I did for this, but I don't know if it's a combination of my sloppiness and the delay, but I'm having a hard time getting that palm mute to sound really good. No matter what guitar I do it on, maybe my technique is just... It's not as pronounced as I'd like it to be. and the delay just kind of amplified that, so I took it off. In the patch, when I leave it down there, I'll leave that one in there too. The one I'm doing right now is going to be JEL2, Jake E. Lee 2, but the plain old JEL will have the delay in it, and it's set a little differently. It's got some more gain in it, so you can decide which one you like. I like the JEL2. Let's go to reverb. I used a hall reverb to give it that kind of airy sound to it, and that was the point of the delay, was to give it a little feedback and background. But the reverb I did on the hall, and I got the reverb time to set to about 2.6 seconds, and the pre-delay 101 milliseconds. And I've got my low cut turned down a little bit to 125 and 315 on there, just to kind of balance them out. I mean, like I said, sometimes I just play with the knobs until it sounds good. Meaning sometimes I just don't know what I'm doing. I'm just kind of fiddling with knobs until it sounds good, and that's good enough for me. So let's see how we're sounding with the reverb now. It sounds a little airier, like I said, a little more body to it. But let's go where the magic happens in the Parametric EQ amp out, because it sounds a little more fuller. Turn this on, and as you'll see, this is my go-to Parametric EQ setting that I usually like to start with. And I +7 on the low gain, -2 on the mids. We're going up to 40 here, 250 here, and 1.6 kilohertz on the mid highs, and I bump these up, all three of these up to 5. And my comfortable medium right here is 5 kilohertz on the high cut. Now let's see how she sounds. We might have to bump that noise suppressor up a little bit. Screwed it up. But it sounds, yeah, let's play with that noise suppressor a little bit. That's better. But we got it dialed in. There's your Parametric EQ. One more again. Your hall reverb. No effects. I did try doing like a parametric, like a graphic equalizer in there, but it didn't make a whole lot of difference for me. And there is one on the other patch, like I said, that's included in the live set. So check that out and play with that a little bit. And of course, right here, like I said, we're using the Tube Screamer as a volume boost and just kind of boosting the gain. Sure, I could just turn this off and crank up the gain here, but with the Tube Screamer, it adds that extra little bit of EQ in there that I can kind of dial in with it. So let's hear it one more time. You probably don't want to, and I'll probably screw it up royally this time, but I'm going to do what I got to do. Something like that. This is probably the most challenging of the tone tutorials I've done, which is great, because if I'm just doing tone tutorials all the time and doing easy riffs, then I'm not really doing myself any justice, practicing, because I spent like all week practicing this riff. Believe it or not. As terrible as it sounds. But I tried, and I really hope that it sounds like what it should sound like to you, and that's Jake E. Lee's Bark at the Moon. There's more to the song. There's a lot more to the song that I just haven't been able to play yet, but I really want to learn the rest of it, so we'll see. I'm not going to perform it for you, even if I did learn it, because it wouldn't be respectful to Jake E. Lee. That's going to do it. We're wrapping this one up under 10 minutes. Awesome. That's fantastic. No mid-roll ads. I hope you enjoyed it. If you like it, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.